It's not just the internet, it's the world. A Faygo Lover's Anonymous Thought Piece by Francis E. Deck Esquire. No, it's not just the internet. These are people, and in an instance where if it's not people, they want you to think that it's people. If you ask me, there are one of two things a person saying this intends when they say this catchphrase that they were not original enough to come up with on their own. I am not at liberty to say what I wish for the individuals who say things akin to it's just the internet. Number one, they are being serious, and they are as dim-witted as dim-witted comes, in which case it is infuriating to run into so many dim-witted people when I'm trying to meet people who are cool and trustworthy, not dim-witted. The second bothers me more than the first, more than you could ever know, because there could be so many different negative intentions behind. Second, whereas the first could almost be forgiven were it not for the fact that both of them act as a way to verbally cast a stone at someone they think is suffering, which is cruel. Or two, they are saying it because they think it will bother you, whereas the second person is fully aware of how far the world has fallen socially and otherwise in such a short period and knows that they are nefariously trying to encourage people to not care about something wrong that is happening in society. That is the true reason behind anyone who is against the earth. It is that in actuality, they are against suffering. And for people like St. Tin's audience members to come along and act as if it does not matter when he claims to care about the law, says all that needs to be said. So let me ask you, United States law enforcement officers of any variety, and let me also ask you, anyone employed in any way by the U.S. military, and any other job title that would apply to someone who is involved in law enforcement, intelligence, and so on. Why do you guys care when members of you criminal organizations dox your families the way that so-called private citizens do to so-called people being trolled? You types who watch people reciting court information do not care about justice. You enjoy watching people suffer. That is always what it has been. If it is just the internet, let me elaborate further. If the police are worried about them and their families being doxxed, which they are, otherwise they would go after any and every criminal organization out there, not just some. And if the military, which is supposed to be more capable than the police, are afraid of being doxxed when it comes to domestic warfare situations, then why are we pretending that it's just the internet? The internet is afraid of being doxxed, which is why the internet also did not go after certain criminal organizations. So I'm just wondering why we are just pretending it's the internet. It is not just the internet, as you say. This earth is evil. I'm quite frankly not a fan of it, and I am alone on top of it, so this is garbage. As they say, not a fan of it, and quite frankly, all of you suck. Not to be rude, but it's true, and you are wrong, and I am correct. There is not a nice way to say it. The police will tell the public that individual people are not important enough to worry about being doxxed, yet the FBI director felt the need to mention that he has been doxxed and swatted on Joe Rogan. So I am calling tomfoolery here if I have ever seen tomfoolery, and I have. The police are allowed to lie to you here, and they are. Where is there not a person saying that the powers that be could have done something about many problems that various nations have faced throughout history? It is not as if it is impossible to come up with some sort of remedy to this problem. But that is just the thing. Look anywhere in history. This is evidence of it, to be able to point to so many moments in history, and for it to be true that negligence is behind so many problems the world faces. So this is a constant. It goes back to the earth being evil. I think the problem more than anything is that I was raised to value work. I was made to value work because I was told it is what I must do to survive. And I live in a world that does not value work. If I lived in a world that truly valued work, I would be paid enough to survive. In actuality, I was raised to value work in a society that values exploitation above all. And no matter how many people who work for the justice system you run into that tell you there are good people within that system, the justice system is a system riddled with people who find humor and amusement in the suffering of others. I live in a society that glorifies evil in broad daylight while punishing people for being evil simultaneously. And the same is true for the medical system, which makes me angry. That is all I am allowed to say legally or otherwise. It makes me angry. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up angry that I am playing a rigged game. All over my YouTube channel is evidence that I am playing a rigged game. When I wake up in the morning, I am angry. I am angry at every person carrying a badge in the world. I wonder every day how that is not a war crime or a human rights violation, because I have literally seen Russian soldiers fleeing while drones are still actively trying to unalive them, and doing that to a fleeing person is illegal. I am angry at every soldier that is using mass-produced technology to end people's lives without even looking them in the eye. So I have, in the conflict between them and Ukraine, seen war crimes committed without a doubt. So I'm angry at every soldier in the world, just as I'm angry at the entire US justice system. This world is beyond a joke, and everyone trying to make a name for themselves in this world is a joke. I have no reason to exist on Earth. There is no one for me to talk to. There will never be anyone for me to talk to. I will never have a family. I want one, but I will never have one. And that is because the way females have treated me in my time on Earth is downright evil. Any so-called feminist that is claiming that women are owed something by men, or that women were abused by men, up until now needs look no further than then. All of the downright evil that women have committed in the last 100 years in the world, alone, to know that that is not true. Everything from working for our enemies in war, to working for criminal organizations that are working against the countries they were born in, women are not on our side, not our nation's sides, and not our side as men, literally or figuratively. And that is all the evidence that is required for it to not be an assumption, but a fact that these members of our nations, these citizens of our nations, are rotten to the core with evil. The female gender should be ashamed of the way they treated me. It is a crime to make a man walk through this life alone. There are 0 ways in which it is mentally healthy to tell a man that it is normal to be alone and to be slaving away while you are alone on top of all. It's near the, well, I dare say it should be a human rights violation for a man to have to be alone his entire life. My life more resembles that of an indentured servant than that of a man, down to not having as many rights as everyone else. People do not take into account how horrible my life is just because you can point to someone. Not having any labor protection laws is almost an admission that the people who are having their kids and raising them in Florida are raising people who are doomed unless they scramble out of the state by the time they are 18, get lucky, and happen to find a good job. It makes me angry that I do not have the same rights as everyone else. Why is the state of Florida so evil? And the thing that angers me the most is that I can directly attribute it to a black woman being the one that removed my chance at success in life and sent me down a path of becoming a criminal. College is a scam. I once thought I was going to go to college. I once tried to, but then the world decided I don't even get a chance. Her people instead tried to further destroy the nation I was born in after removing my only chance at life and sending me down a path towards having an arrest record before I was even a year out of high school. Has her people done anything to remedy that? No, they have not. I never had a chance at life. The world will never listen to what I am saying. One thing that will not be so is that I will not leave the earth without using as many of my own words as I can to explain how evil in every way, shape, and form this world is, how this world robbed me of any chance or opportunity at a normal life, and how I am the one who does not care, not the other way around. I will not stop speaking, however. If you didn't care, you would not be trying to silence my voice. You can try to silence my voice all you want. No one has ever saw fit to let me speak my entire life in this so-called land of the free. The platform I spent so many years of my life on, the platform that practically raised me, saw fit to silence me for trying to speak out against the way I have been treated my entire life. No one ever wanted to listen to me. This is neither the land of the free nor the home of the brave. This is the real estate of the indentured and the home of the vultures picking at the bodies of the weak and lazy who get sent to this nation. Electing a socialist in New York will not change the hundreds of years of culturally telling people that it's okay to pay a man less than the standard of living and to not pay a man at all for his work if possible. That is the true nature of this nation. A nation that does not care about the suffering of its children. A nation that ignores the pain and suffering of its children. And that is all this nation will ever be. There is no reforming it. This nation has had a weakness for cheap labor since the colonial era. The only time the people living near me talk is when they need me to lift or reach something they cannot after a natural disaster. And that is help I should not even give them. These people would walk past me if I were homeless and starving. Yet these tiny people who came here from other nations think I am some kind of white jolly green giant here to help them fix their property after a hurricane just because I appear to have been born here. These states are not even united under one flag. You cannot even trust the person next door to you.